side of the pond. He is DJ Schweitzer. I am Jeremy Lance. We're remote again just because I needed a way to have an easy cough button.
Yeah. We both have some sinus infections doing a number on us at the moment. So it was for the best that we remained in separate rooms, because when we actually do this together, we are still not high budget enough to have buttons to mute our mics.
Yeah, we don't have a mute button. I think the only thing you could do is literally just on the back of your mic, just unplug it when you go to cough.
I can only imagine the chaos that would unfold if we actually did something like that. So
I don't think the Mac would appreciate it.
No, it would definitely be in a little a lost mode. So instead tonight we're back so we can both use our Skype mute buttons to mute out any of our sniffles, coughs, or hacks that may come along the way.
I used mine just now.
Yeah.
Lot going on soccer-wise. The business end of the European calendar, as we are narrowing things down as far as who is still playing for something in the Premier League.
Coming thick and fast right now.
We've already had in the lower leagues in England. We've already had just of the past 48 hours. We had a pretty big relegation that happened in Wayne Rooney's Derby County.
Yeah, that
officially
was
relegated.
Inevitable, pretty much, right? They put up a pretty good fight there for a bit. They really did. But if you're not familiar with the situation going on at Derby County, they are in dire financial straits and got docked a bunch of points by the Football League for failure to make payments to players and a number of other items. So long story short is that club is going through the same thing that we've seen from countless other clubs before. Portsmouth, the most famous one, and Sunderland.
Sunderland was a big one. It is. I will say, as a Wycombe Wanderers supporter, I'm not as sympathetic to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because when these troubles first really reared their head for Derby County, and that when the EFL came down to punish them, it did come at the end of the season where the EFL ultimately decided to let them stay up and to not penalize them points at the end of the season, and then did it the following season, where had they just penalize them in that season, they would have gone down and Wycombe would have stayed up in the championship.
Yes, just would have delayed the inevitable probably for you guys.
Hey, you never know,
Yeah,
get
that's
that.
true.
We would have actually got, because the one season we got in the championship was the COVID season, so we couldn't even profit from that properly.
Well, it wasn't even a real season essentially.
Yeah, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
We're battling for a playoff spot right now to possibly go up again. So maybe we'll get back up.
Fingers crossed for you, boys.
Yeah. Always we got to root for those chair boys. Who, by the way, I don't know if you. I don't know how much to kind of go on a little lower league tangent here. The very famous. We talk about right before we started the show in our little pre-show talk. We were talking about it's kind of hipster supporter groups. And I tell you what, one hipster supporter group that's in a bad way right now is the Wimbledon supporter groups.
Oh yeah,
which is kind of a niche community here in the U.S. and I think globally, they're on the verge of going down.
Yeah.
At the same, and it's a double whammy for them. They're on the verge of going down at the same time that MK Dons is pretty firmly in a playoff spot. They're very likely to be playing for championship promotion.
Yeah, and I mean that would be the worst thing imaginable for them is to not only go down but then potentially see those that they don't speak of go up.
Yeah. So that's going on. The other one obviously is what today we now know Fulham will be joining us in the Premier League.
Welcome back, guys. We'll see how long of a stay it'll be this time around.
Yo-yo gonna yo-yo.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm glad to have them back. Fulham were one of those teams that I am always, a little fond of. They've been nice to the Americans over the years. So bring them back up, and let's see if they can find some magic this year at the Cottage.
Yeah, because they've kind of been in this cool cycle with Norwich where they each take turns.
Yeah, it's true.
Coming up and going right back down.
Passing the baton.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
Your turn.
You're up.
Yeah. It's like a timeshare.
Kept the seat warm for you.
Yeah, it's a timeshare between the two of them.
Yeah.
And they're just splitting time. It's how it's a little more economical for both clubs.
Yes, I believe the contract says I have this year and you get next year.
Yeah, that's right. But that's been exciting. And we may as well roll into the first segment of the show with the Premier League. It's getting wild in a couple different areas of the table. The top of the table still not settled. Manchester City and Liverpool neck and neck at this point.
Yeah, Liverpool technically ahead at the moment as City will play Brighton tomorrow. Liverpool absolutely having their way with United today in a match that ultimately was 4-0?
Yeah.
It was, like midway through the match, you're sitting there going like, we're going to hit the how many point of this match here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, 4-0 is like a polite scoreline to how United played. My wife got home from work in the middle of the second half and she saw the scoreline and, laughed about it. And then I was like, take a look at the possession statistics. And it was 72% to, 28 at that point. And Liverpool were smothering them. It easily could have been 7 or 8 goals. And United they look like a team that they're not Manchester United anymore. They truly look like they're on the beach at this point.
I want to jump to United. You mentioned that. I want to jump to them real quick because I know we were going to talk about kind of the teams fighting for European places. They are the one holding at the moment the last European spot, provided how the cups go, which I guess, yeah, that'd be fine, I guess, right? Because it won't be some rando taking that spot because it'll be either Liverpool or Chelsea, two teams that are probably already in the Champions League.
Correct.
I heard it really well put by the commentator on TalkSport today. I was running an errand. Why are these what motivation do these players have to play for Ralph Rangnick? That guy has really no leverage as a manager. He's not even a manager. He's just a guy that's just stepping in. Yes, he is going to be the guy that is going to be the consultant that is allegedly going to be the guy that's tasked with shaping. It kind of a crazy thing that Ralph Rangnick is going to basically be put in charge of shaping the new identity of Manchester United. But as the guy that's technically in charge of the touchline right now, the guy has no leverage. These players know that he's not the manager for much longer. They've already basically said who they're going to hire. What motivation do these guys have to play for this guy?
I don't know. It's such a weird situation, and it's just another in these long line of really weird, not particularly well thought out things that United have been doing over the last decade. And
yeah,
I don't know. It's very unclear what Rangnick's role is moving forward, and it was kind of framed like he would be a technical director once the full-time manager was appointed. But then they kind of backed off that, and he was more of a consultant who would be helping them to select the next manager, which might also be him, which we now know it won't be, or at least we're pretty sure it won't be.
No, it sounds like it not only will be Erik ten Hag, it sounds like almost as a way of appeasing the fan base, they're going to try to rush that announcement here in the next week.
Yeah, here's
also
something
even this week.
Dangle a carrot for next season at this point because everyone's kind of giving up on it. But if Rangnick does stay around in the front office in this kind of technical director role, it's the only way that this setup makes any sort of sense to me, because what better way can you as a technical director know what your inadequacies are within your squad than actually running it for a year? So there are some concepts to that make sense, but we don't actually know that that's what is going to be the case. We know that Ten Hag is likely the next manager at this point, but we don't know what that is. And if Rangnick is out the door, then you're right. Like the players have absolutely no motivation at all outside of maybe I can impress the manager that's coming in the door. But it's just United have again set themselves up in a situation that makes it difficult to achieve the goals that they set for themselves.
Yeah. Again, they currently hang on to the last European spot. We'll see if they can hang on to that as things are kind of trending in the wrong direction for them at the moment. So I guess if there's maybe a little motivation there for players is like, hey, if I'm going to be here next year, I'd like to be playing in some sort of European competition.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think so. They just re-signed, Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. They're trying to convince Ronaldo to stay. There's a lot of different things that they kind of have in limbo. Will Pogba stay?
I mean, that's like, so how long has that limbo been going on?
Well, I mean, just
3 years.
Well, I don't understand how we haven't settled something to that effect, right? Like a new long-term deal, or a for sure we're going to sell him on, or he's just going to run his deal down. Like none of those things happen. Like it's just it's perpetually stuck in this weird spot where nothing's really going down. But
again, it's not having a real plan.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, is like outside of, De Gea, who in this squad really do you think could be a player that would be competing for trophies for him? Like there aren't that many guys who I would be certain like, oh, this guy should be included there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. They have a lot of positions and a lot of area where you talk about, they have players that are on pretty good wages doing pretty not good things and aren't really worth hanging on to. But I don't know how you're off. Like at Harry Maguire, what are you doing with that guy?
Yeah, no one's gonna take his hand and all of those wages for you. You know what I mean? Like it's just not what's going to happen at this point. So
which has sort of been the Pogba thing, like for the past couple of years, right? Like his wages are so crazy. Like who is showing up at the door to make that offer?
Only a handful of teams, that's for sure.
And those teams have moved on to greener pastures when it comes to positions, what Pogba would fill. So they've kind of painted themselves into a corner with the gajillion dollars that Ed Woodward had spent over the past 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah,
just a bit of a mess. Working our way back over to the top real quickly. Chelsea is in 3rd place. That seems fairly stable.
Yeah, I mean
they're in touching distance of 4th, I guess, but yeah, they're holding form.
I don't see anyone behind them
making a run
up at this point. You know what I mean? Like maybe getting a little ground back is potentially in the cards for a few of them, but the way Chelsea are playing at the moment, they mostly take care of business against, the opposition sides that they should, and not too much in the way of a big competition standing ahead of them, aside from the match that awaits them this week, which is against another one of these sides that's trying to chop their way into the top 4, and that's Arsenal. And they have done a pathetically bad job of actually doing that, over the last month or so.
Yeah, on a pretty bad skid right now, getting blown out by Crystal Palace. Then they lose to Brighton, and then it was on the weekend they lose to Southampton.
Yeah, and 3 losses in a row. They're really heading in the wrong direction. Currently find themselves on 54 points, 31 matches played. They trail Spurs, who themselves dropped points at Brighton. Saw them, or two,
Brighton's
not at Brighton, at home.
Brighton's taking names right now.
What's that?
Brighton's taking names right now. If I'm City, I put my head on a swivel tomorrow.
Yeah, they've definitely been taking some scalps along the way. Very Spursy results for Tottenham, though. First loss in 5. But right when they seem to be getting things back together under Conte, they drop a match that really should have been a winnable one. Mm-hmm. So, United dropping points, Arsenal dropping points, Spurs dropping points, all the way down in 7th, West Ham even dropping points, at Burnley, getting a 1-1 draw. probably out of it at this point. 52 points, 5 back from Spurs. 33 matches played. It's not even any matches in hand.
Yeah, and they still have European matches, which, I mean, good for them that they're still in the competition, but obviously that kind of just adds more of a load onto this, this business end of the season.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's wild, like all these teams trying to fight to get into fourth all tripped up this weekend, and none of them found a way to take advantage of the other ones slipping up either. So if you had to guess out of those four, Spurs, Arsenal, United, West Ham, who do you really think who's your hot tip for actually getting into that fourth place spot?
Oh, geez. I mean, I feel like West Ham, if they were, I don't know, you almost want to say it would be West Ham, but like they're the one with the most ground to gain to get like even into the discussion of a European spot, right?
Yep.
They're on the outside looking in. That being said, I would say like if there's a team I'm the least in on right now, it probably is United, right?
Right.
Like, if anyone's going to falter right now, it feels like it will be them, because I mean, and maybe it's just recency bias of having sat through that game today. Like, they looked woeful.
They did.
And if that's an indictment, yes, it's Liverpool, and Liverpool is playing at peak level right now. But if that's indicative of like where they stand as a club and like where their levels are at as far as fight left in them, man, this could be a rough final month or so for them.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. Like, it's not one of those situations where the players are trying to lose to get Rangnick out. Like, they already know he's out. So it's like, what do you guys want to do this week? Should we play for pride?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm up for that today.
Harry, you want to kick Pogba in the head again?
He does. That's undoubtedly something that he wants to have happen. Let's look at the other end of the table, though. The relegation battle remains pretty tight as well at the bottom. Norwich City, 21 points.
Already dead.
Yeah, they are already dead. They're 4 back from Burnley. They're in a little bit of a form uptick at this point. Looked pretty good against United at the weekend.
Yeah.
I guess that was back on Friday.
What does that speak more of? Like, is that more about United's poor form that they got themselves in a shootout with Norwich?
Yeah, that's a pretty good point there. But yeah, they're pretty much dead at this point. Just above them in the table, Watford, 22 points. Both of them are already on 32 matches played, so really no matches in hand to gain for either one of them either. So I feel pretty confident that we're probably going to see the Hornets go down too.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
Tough to see them picking up more.
I know Elton John's touring around the Midwest right now. If you see him, tell him keep his chin up.
Yeah.
Hornets will be back. Just not this year.
Yeah, they're usually in on that, swap and yo-yo stuff too. So
Burnley, they're in the top relegation position. Obviously, they had the more eventful last couple of days. They parted ways with Sean Dyche finally. Didn't really think they were going to do that. Didn't think they were going to do it in season. But the fact that they did, and the fact that they have not, they've not technically replaced him either.
No.
I think the U23 coach is running things right now.
Yeah.
Is that almost like a give up move?
It's such a weird move. It's
like they didn't have a plan in place. They were just just fire him.
Yeah, I mean,
who's gonna see us through the rest of this season and lead us out of relegation?
I mean, I do think that it was like a panic move for sure. I think they were trying to give Dyche as much time as possible to save himself, I think, to a certain extent. But they also, in the process, left themselves no room to pivot. With, a handful of games left on the calendar, and you're cutting away the only guy who's been at your club for the last, 9.5 seasons. It's an incredibly puzzling, bad timing, unrealistically responsible, move from the Burnley management at this point to just chop him now.
Yeah, it's fatalistic.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to pick a different team now. You know what I mean? Like, for a new manager to really have an impact in that particular scenario, it's like you need new players, right? To change the way that Burnley, like, this team has been built this way for a whole decade. And now they're like, we're going to change it up in the last 5 days. No, I just don't. It doesn't seem
don't see it
realistic at this point. So, yeah, I'm puzzled by the move. I'm confused by the move, and I think it probably means curtains for Burnley at this point too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I guess almost the best news for Frank Lampard and Everton, as the team that they're basically going to have to stave off to survive and live another year in the Premier League. I mean, borderline threw in the towel.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it feels like at this point. And yeah, Everton have it all to gain at this point. Hosting Leicester tomorrow.
They have a crazy run here. So it's Leicester tomorrow. It's at Liverpool on the weekend. And then they play Chelsea and then Leicester again.
That is a crazy run. Just a truly crazy run. And if it weren't for the fact that the three teams below them seem just incapable of getting themselves together,
sure.
I would say Everton would be in some deep doo-doo here. But they may still very well find themselves in deep doo-doo. Like if Burnley get themselves together like a minuscule amount and Everton lose the type of matches they've been losing all season,
yeah,
they could slip in there.
It's definitely, I mean, it's the job is so far from over for Everton. I mean, they have, these next 4 matches. So again, that's Leicester twice, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Oh, man, they need to get.
There's not a whole lot of light in there, is there?
I mean, realistically, they need to get like 5 or 6 points out of that.
I mean, that seems unrealistic.
I mean, you got to hope that Leicester is just, I don't know. That's your best hope.
Yeah.
Were you going to go, you're going to go beat Liverpool away this weekend? That seems pretty far-fetched.
Feels like something that's not happened in a really long time.
Yeah. This doesn't seem like the time it would happen.
No.
Yeah, and then okay, this just hit me. So Chelsea is the 3rd match of that group. If that's a 3rd straight defeat and they're in relegation territory, like they're in it, is Chelsea the team that possibly fires the fatal shot on Frank Lampard?
It might be.
Oh my goodness. No.
That would be poetic, wouldn't it? I mean,
it would be something.
That'd be the way that football writes its stories.
Absolutely, right? Like that's the kind of thing that does happen.
Builds its heroes up just so it can be torn down.
Whew. All right. Well, Ruben Loftus-Cheek about ready to get that guy fired twice.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, who knew that was going to be the case? Leeds seem like they're pretty well safe at this point. Jesse Marsch has them flying high, and his time in charge. 4 matches now without a loss, including 3 wins. Looking pretty solid.
Everything that they have going for them is what you were hoping Everton would get out of Frank Lampard. Like there was, we thought there was this big buy-in and just emotional buy-in by the players when Lampard came, and that maybe that existed for a minute, but it was beaten out of them moments later, and doesn't seem to totally exist at this point. Jesse still has his guys believing.
He does.
So yeah, no, it's cool to see him being successful, helping them. Yeah, I mean, obviously they were trending in a bad direction when they ended up making that change.
They definitely were. So, and to think, their fans are even still writing love letters in the public paper to Bielsa, in the aftermath of his firing. It's a tough set of shoes for Jesse Marsch to have to fill, to come in behind literally a living legend.
Yeah.
A guy who restored Leeds to their, quote unquote rightful place within the Premier League. He's doing well. He's exceeding expectations, I would presume.
Let's go stateside.
We should.
U.S. Open Cup the best round ever, the third round.
This is the best round.
Like tonight, there has been so many great matches, so many just great regional matchups that you're only going to get in this competition, right? Like,
yeah,
getting to see Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh, Detroit City now a USL Championship side, getting to host the Columbus Crew and winning. Yeah.
Huge result for them with a late goal up at Keyworth Stadium. It looked a truly incredible atmosphere, although I'm sure NGS will be just delightful in the days to come on social media. But yeah, that looked great. Right now in Chicago, we're seeing Chicago Fire drawing, heading into penalty kicks against Union Omaha of the USL Championship.
Oh, wow.
After both sides scored goals in added time. So it's been awesome, and we're like halfway done with the night. Like there's still the West Coast games to kick off.
Yeah, we still have Landon Donovan versus his club versus the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's a cool one. So this is definitely the best round of the Open Cup. We see the most upsets at this stage when the USL Championship sides are finally getting an opportunity to take a swipe at the big boys ahead of them. There are quite a few, League One sides that are still in it, as well as a few amateur sides that have still hung in there too. So, it's the Open Cup is at its best in this round.
So far, kind of results that have happened. We mentioned it, Detroit City hosting the Columbus Crew, getting the 2-1 win. Obviously, the Crew kind of just in bad form, and obviously that carries into the Open Cup, where obviously a lot of squad rotation going on. I mean, I'm sure that will be somewhat the excuse of Crew fans and a lot of fans that see their side not succeeding on this night. If you're an MLS side, is you go, squad rotation, we just played, and we got another game. And a lot of teams had to do it. Most teams were able to pull it off. Inter Miami getting a 1-0 win on the road at Miami FC. Someone pointing out that David Beckham went to an NBA playoff game tonight when his own club finally played in Miami for the first time ever.
I mean, there was no way he was going to show up at the Miami FC's stadium to check out that match. He probably barely checks out the matches that are at the stadium that they've built in Fort Lauderdale. But it was a cool seeing that local rivalry, get sprung up out of nowhere. Like it was a little bit of something that I wasn't quite expecting.
FC Cincinnati hosting Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Obviously, the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati sports rivalry has had a lot of facets to it. Pirates and Reds playing for like the past 150 years against each other. Most recently got into a lot of fistfights.
Yeah.
Bengals and Steelers, enough said there. Even back, even in college, Pitt and UC, when UC first kind of really started to go on the ascension that they've kind of been on for the past decade or so, probably about 15 years now. Battle with Pitt was a big one there for a while. Mm-hmm. So it was cool to see this one that we hadn't seen in quite some time, of FC Cincinnati and the Riverhounds going after each other. This game was at TQL. There was probably, 3,000 people. It was a small crowd, but
it was not a very large crowd. But that's an early stage Open Cup for a lot of MLS teams, and hopefully with lower ticket prices, some people who had never gotten an opportunity to go check out TQL Stadium got to do that. That's another great thing about the Open Cup. I know at least 2 or 3 people that were heading down there for their first trip to the stadium. So
yeah, it was also in the 40s tonight. So that was another reason why some people stayed away.
Yeah, I could understand why you might be like, nah, I'm not going to come here to watch them maybe lose against a lower league side. But they were able to hang it out. Did take all the way into added time as well. But Barreal getting a penalty and a goal from open play to close things out late. I'm just glad that we didn't get another cringy Jeff Birding talking about the rivalry between the two cities in the locker room video. That's just, we didn't need that.
I mean, it could have happened. We just it hasn't been published yet.
Maybe there'll be a cool montage video afterward.
I mean, you know how it is. You don't want to publish that this late in the evening. You got to save that good content for about like 11 a.m. tomorrow, right?
It's the best time to post it, I think.
I mean, a Wednesday, that's key content time, right?
It's definitely the thing you want to be getting up for after having to work a game against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds the night before.
It'll get me up. So that they win 2-0. Then we also had this Chicago match that is into penalties. Has it started penalties?
It has started.
So they're playing Union Omaha. That has gone the distance. That has been a fun one. Yeah, it's been a good Open Cup. We had a couple cup sets. I think I saw like a League One side beat Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a USL side going down to a USL League One side. I don't know. It's good stuff. I think tomorrow we get Orlando and Tampa.
We do, yeah.
Another tasty one. Yeah, I'm just glad to have this tournament back. And like when today kind of hit, I was like, man, there's so many matches I cannot wait to enjoy.
I know. I was looking forward to it. Had a couple circled on the calendars. Something to take in. So here's hoping we have more upsets in store ahead of us tonight. Let's move on, though, from the Open Cup. Definitely some things worthy of mention on the domestic front as well. Matthias Almeida finally out at San Jose as they continue to struggle. This is another one, much like the Sean Dyche firing at Burnley. Opposite ends of the season, obviously, but it just feels like the wrong time to be pulling that trigger.
Pretty early on to be doing that. But it kind of seemed like both parties were done with each other.
Yeah.
Is what it sounded like.
I think Matthias definitely was like, look, I've tried to make my craziness work in MLS.
Right.
And you guys aren't giving me what I need, partly because it's MLS and it's tough to get everything you need.
Right.
When you've got a particularly unique system. It's funny. I always enjoyed watching and reading San Jose supporters' reactions to games and outcomes on social media because they're always like, man, it was really frustrating over the last few years with Almeida. But like, man, was it a wild ride? Like,
yeah.
We would lose games like 3-4 all the time. Like, and we'd have some good memorable wins in there too, but like most of the time it was negative. But it was just the ups and downs. And it always was wild. And it's not surprising to see him out, but you kind of feel like they should have done this in the off season.
Yeah, it's a weird one on a couple levels, right? Like I think the other kind of the weird thing about it the most is like this has been a weird set. Like this relationship has not worked almost the entire time in the fact that he has been rumored to either being poached back to Mexico or wanting to leave literally since he took the job. Like literally before, like he was hired in the offseason, and in that same offseason, there was already rumors that he was having second thoughts and that he was already getting like some backdoor offers from clubs in Mexico.
It's the most like Mexican league narrative thing ever. Like the second a coach that was prized in Mexico leaves, the rumors start about it, but you do get the feeling that some of these rumors were like definitely fueled by Almeida himself, like
probably
and his agent. And they're like, hey, let's just get those feelers out there already.
But it's like they thanked him for 3+ years, and the whole 3+. When I read that, I was like, yeah, 3+ years of him kind of wanting to leave the whole time.
Yeah. Real quick, breaking in here. Union Omaha just knocked out the Chicago Fire on penalties.
I saw that
in the U.S. Open Cup. So.
Yeah, a great save in the what round were we in? Like 5th, 6th, 7th round.
Yeah. Yep. So, more heads being scalped over in that tournament. Almeida saw his scalp go. A big role to fill there in San Jose. With owners who really just haven't done a whole lot of, investing in the squad over
Did you
the
hear?
last.
I think it was the general manager, whoever there, that made a comment to the media afterwards, like, we're really going to consider MLS experience this time around. Hey guys,
Newsflash.
The guy you had before Almeida, pretty experienced, and you deemed that no longer good enough and wanted to go in the opposite direction.
It's kind of like, hey, the new trend is by people with MLS experience. And so,
yeah,
we're going to do that again, even though that's what we just ditched for this. So
yeah, it's almost as if that's always really been the trend. And the allure has always, though, existed to not do that. And the allure, it's kind of worked. Like reigning MLS Cup champs are helmed by Ronnie Diley, who's not a MLS experienced manager.
That's true.
But that's an outlier. And I just feel like too many clubs keep forgetting that there is so much value in guys that know how to operate in this league.
Yes.
Just because the sexy name is out there doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Well, and it just seems to always take people too much time to figure out the very obvious thing that is experience in your league matters.
Just because the guy played for Manchester United doesn't mean it's going to work.
I don't know. It's, he's so recognizable that, everyone would know who he is and recognize his pictures.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Another hot topic doing the rounds in American soccer media at the moment. It seems like the men's national team might be on its way back to Cincinnati.
Yeah. So a rumor based on a report put out by the Post listing an unnamed source that, June 1st at TQL.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we haven't been totally given the game plan of how are national teams like the U.S. Going to approach the build up to the World Cup. You're going to have the domestic season just trucking along by the time it's ready for the cup to start. You're going to have a very small runway from the actual time that the leagues go on break to when you get your players in to when you play your first match.
Yeah.
Before, obviously it'd be in the summer and most leagues would end, the European leagues would end in May. Guys would collect with their national team. And then it was, a couple friendlies to see you off and get you kind of primed up. And then boom, you were in the World Cup. You're not going to have that setup. So it's do you schedule a bunch of summer friendlies? What are the windows that are going to be available to you in the early part of the fall? I don't know, but it does seem one thing likely to happen is that that June friendlies will happen, and it appears, at TQL in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Now here's another aspect of this that I find kind of odd. This is the fourth national team game for the men that's been hosted in Ohio in the last year.
Yeah.
At this point, we had 3 World Cup qualifiers, 2 in Columbus, 1 at TQL for USA Mexico, and then again this match back at TQL. That'll be the 4th in this kind of year time frame, year and a half.
Sure. There are narratives out there that exist of why people think that is why it is.
Is that fair?
I mean, what is fair?
I mean, sure. That's a great question.
All right, Midwest, you've had your turn. And now, Tucson, you're up.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I understand the geography here too. I mean, we here in Cincinnati understand that probably better than anyone. The thing that's really magical about Cincinnati in some respects, especially if you're someone who likes to get out and travel, is that you're only 7 hours away from tons of the country. Yeah. So many major cities are within a 7-hour drive of right here, which makes us incredibly accessible for a large swath of the country. Literally, we're talking all the way over to Philadelphia, to Buffalo, New York, to Detroit, to Milwaukee, to St. Louis, to Nashville, down into the southern half of the states, Atlanta, Washington D.C. All these places are in play when you select an Ohio location.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I also understand, like, it's been pretty successful here. Like, there have been no losses in any of those matches in recent times.
Well, and that losses on the field and in the pocketbooks as well. Remember, I feel like people forget that we're not too far removed from a stretch of U.S. men's national team friendlies where, like, the attendance was terrible. And they would go to these they would go to like Orlando and play this friendly. And part of it was just a saturation of too many friendlies and the pricing for these matches being terrible. But, like, there was a series that lasted almost a year or so of U.S. men's national team matches that were in front of terrible crowds.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be an aspect to that. But I also, on that same front, have to go, like, how hard are you hitting the pocketbooks of these people? Like,
yeah, they'll become a saturation point, right?
Back to that well and be like, stick your hand out again and be like, I need more water from this well. A lot of fans, and I asked around to a couple people after that, rumor did the rounds, like, hey, would you even go to that? And a couple of them been like, man, I'm feeling taxed on national team games of late because there have been so many, and you don't want to say no if you can go to a World Cup qualifiers. And I was lucky enough to go to two of the three, and it was an awesome experience to do that. I'd never gone to two in one cycle before. Like, that was neat. But, like, I don't know that I could justify the expense. And that's not even including, like, all the women's national team games that have been peppered in here recently, too. Two were in Columbus within the last year. We had one in Cincinnati as well. Can't imagine they won't be back at some point soon. These new stadiums are always looking for dates to fill, to justify the expenses for them, to help earn back the money that was spent. But, man, it does feel like they're being a little unfair to the rest of the country, as well as asking a little much of the people that live around here.
No, I think just like a saturation point kind of gets hit with when you have just too many friendlies going on, and you're all of a sudden these crowds are just not wanting to come out for the prices and the exhibition level of play. You're going to have the same thing with if you just keep having the same cities, the same region. Because I think you're right. Like, the amount of people I know that went to the Cincinnati match and at least one of the Columbus ones, I mean, it's like 80% of the people I know that went to Cincinnati also went to one of the Columbus matches.
Yeah.
So that's two. Those tickets, I mean, goodness, that USA-Mexico ticket was a fortune, even if you were sitting, in the last row.
Right.
The Columbus tickets were only a little bit cheaper than that for their two matches. I think you definitely are going to hit a saturation point where, and we might even see it we might even see it with this match. Like, if they roll out prices that are in the same general area of where USA Mexico is at,
they're going to be.
You're going to have a lot of people going like, I don't know, man. Like, like,
it's going to happen. Like, it's almost a certainty that they're going to roll out, because they're not going to want to take a hit right before the World Cup. Like, they'll be trying to cash in on the excitement ahead of the World Cup. So it's almost a certainty that they're going to do that. So the strategy at U.S. Soccer sometimes baffles me, and I don't want to. I feel like I'm being negative about the world, national team coming back to Cincinnati. That feels like such a thing that I, like, 12-year-old me would be really mad at me about. How dare I be unhappy about that type of situation? But it is puzzling, and it does seem like, they're trying to get a little too much yield out of this crop.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people probably felt the way I did. Like, the moment I read that headline, I was excited, and then, like, immediately, like, I don't know, do I want to go to that? Like, do I want to spend money on that?
Yeah,
maybe. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. One last domestic thing I need to toss in here, and we could have talked about it earlier on in the Premier League segment, but it's more relevant to national team stuff right now, given that he's not really a standard fair player for City. But Zach Steffen's form right now, very concerning. And you do have to wonder, would it be good for him to potentially seek a move away this summer to try to find himself in some better form? To like, I'm not even just saying like he needs it so he can start in the World Cup and be better. That's to like maybe even make the World Cup squad at this point.
Well, I mean, the one good thing he has going for him that is the bad thing going for all of us is that the perceived 3-man depth chart right now are 3 dudes that are not starting.
Yes.
Right? Like Zach Steven, not a starter. Matt Turner, currently dealing with an injury, but he's going to go off to Arsenal here shortly, where he's hopefully going to be immediately loaned out somewhere where he can actually get minutes.
Yeah.
Ethan Horvath goes to Nottingham Forest. He has made 6 starts. 6 starts.
Not a good place.
He's not their starter.
Yeah.
I mean, all 3 of them should be looking for MLS loans for this summer.
I would hope so. Like first team minutes on the pitch, all of them. Priority number 1. And it really should be for all of them regardless. But, you know, I do think we got struck a little bit here by like the big lights and shiny stars of big clubs coming in for these guys. And while they're definitely talented, maybe it was a little too much to bite off at the wrong time in their careers and in the national team's development cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like no one's blaming these guys for, you know, Matt Turner is a like undrafted college player, like, and here he is, like, Arsenal are like, hey, we'd like to offer you a deal. Like, I mean, are you kidding? You go tell that guy, well, I don't know, because of the national team, you should probably turn that down. Like, you know, go after yourself. Like, you're gonna take that. Like, you're gonna absolutely take that. That's a dream. He's
gonna go. Yeah. But definitely a concerning time for U.S. netminders, which is always a puzzling thing to say when it's been our rock solid position for so long. Winners, I think we're winners and wankers.
Yes.
Why don't you give me your negative thing to start things off?
My negative thing, and as much as I love what today was, this week, the 3rd round of the Open Cup, all the MLS clubs are in. Yeah, it's just like the FA Cup, where that 3rd round is when it really kicks off and really becomes real, and the real upsets are on the table, and everything's fun, and you get to see the rivalries that don't otherwise exist on the field in normal league play. But with that comes a lot of fan bases from different levels, and with that, different understandings and culture of how to support. And with that comes a lot of people that are dead set on letting you know that the way they support and the way they do things is the only true and proper way to do things. And that if you're doing it any other way than them, you're wrong, you're a loser, and you're basically like, you're fake. Like, it's not authentic, it's not genuine. What they're doing is genuine because their team, for the majority of their existence, were basically built on interns and free college players. You supporting guys that have made it to kind of the pinnacle of the domestic career, you're bad. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. And it's not just supporters from, you know, particular clubs who have risen from the amateur to the professional ranks to become darlings of the soccer underworld here, but it's also like lots of clubs. Like I feel like the Open Cup, is great as it is, and we all like it. We can all agree it should be pushed more, but like it's fantastic too at reminding you of how much just utter garbage support there is out there, and all this stupid, pointless banter that always has like a habit of turning into this really gross negative stuff. And it's weird how this great thing has like this weird, ugly underbelly.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, the older I get, the more that like supporter culture is just awesome on paper, but then like you get like really into it and you're like, guys, we need to chill out a bit.
Yeah, can we just hang out and watch the soccer game?
Can we just enjoy the game? Like, can we just, like, don't you like the game? Like, I like watching soccer. Like, I don't I don't care if I'm in the stadium or if I'm in my living room watching a show with my wife while I have a game on mute on my phone.
Right.
I like watching soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we enjoy it? Like, just like, why don't we just enjoy it? Like, that's
why
that's why we came here in the first place, right?
No, I'm here for the banter.
And it's like, yes, a club can be a pillar of your community and it can mean so much more than the on-field product. Awesome. But like, I don't know. I feel like when you start taking things way too seriously is when you start making it problematic. Like, that's when you start gatekeeping. That's when you start, like, it doesn't even look like you're like getting any joy out of it. It's just like this like pseudo culture war you've just entered into. Like, what? Just like enjoy the game, have fun, hang out with your friends, get beers before and after.
It can be fun.
Paint a tifo.
You can have fun. You can have fun and you don't have to go cosplay as some hooligan. Like,
love your club, support them, have fun. Enjoy the community of like being around all these people that love the same thing you love, and like just let it be what it's going to be. Like, it's not like, let's not overthink this, guys.
Just relax.
Yeah.
Just relax.
And like, you're not more of a supporter just because you view things a certain way. Like, if you like something, you like something, just like it. Like, just enjoy it. Like, what? And if someone doesn't like it, like, all right.
It's all right.
Like, that's part of being an adult, is like realizing like, hey, not everything's for me and not everything is like going to be loved by everybody. And that's okay. And like, it's not all about me. And like, not everybody needs to be like me.
Yeah. Other people liking other stuff doesn't really impact me that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird how that is.
Like, I really like the NHL right now, and like, and I'm watching a lot of Calgary Flames game, and DJ has not been put off by that at all.
Not at all.
It's
weird that you chose Calgary, but that's it.
I mean, it's worked out well. It is a
phenomenal
team.
Yeah. Excellent wanker this week. My wanker, I'm going to go back to my favorite dead horse, and I'm going to the endless well of terribleness that is Qatar. And their head of security, Abdullah Al-Nassari, had just a amazing quote this week. He said, "If a fan raised an LGBT flag here, he may be attacked. In our society, it will not be accepted. People come to watch games, not commit political acts. We will not change our religion for 28 days." So, like,
I mean, he's calling it as he sees it. The DJ, you gotta give him credit for that.
The boldness that just is. I hope we see more of this, honestly, because then we can stop pretending that everyone's like, oh, they're gonna be cool while we're here. Like, this dude, literally, the head of security, was like, anyone who has a flag with it, a gay pride, LGBTQ, whatever,
it's going to go bad for you.
You can beat them and we won't do anything about it. Like, go ahead. It's our religion here to beat those people. So go for it.
I mean, he was basically already like, he's already declared that, the proverbial, well, you shouldn't have been dressing that way. And he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Like, if you didn't want to get raped, you wouldn't have worn that crop top.
Right. Like, I mean, that's the same, just awful, horrendous logic.
Look, if you didn't want to get beat in a stadium, you wouldn't have brought a gay pride flag. Sorry about your luck.
So, the World Cup will have a lot of things. Shockingly, freedom of speech will not be one of them.
No, it's certainly not. Not this one anyway. Who
saw that one coming? Who saw that one coming? By the way,
no one. Give me a winner to erase this.
My winner, just going back again, I'm just kind of just bathing in a U.S. Open Cup, is just a shout out to the man, Mike Watts. He is right now doing this LA San Diego game. This is his second match of the night. and then I believe he will do another one tomorrow. So in the span of 24 hours, he's going to call 3 Open Cup matches.
It's like doing, a matinee, a main show, and then the Sunday show the next day.
Yeah,
just he's singing for 3 90-minute plus periods in a very short time frame. Like that's quite the challenge there for Mike.
I mean, I know the struggle I've had just studying and preparing for one match a week.
It's too much.
Getting all the names right, learning, just writing down where this guy went to college and all that stuff.
Maybe even just getting the roster from your own head coach or staff members before kickoff.
Sure, or a formation.
Any of those things.
But he's doing 3 of them, and that's incredible. So hats off to him. Just a great play-by-play man doing yeoman's work over here for American soccer, as he always does.
He certainly has for a while and is doing it this week as well. My winner this week, I'm going back to England and have to give it up to the home-supported Anfield today for their ovation and chants for Ronaldo in the 7th minute of their match against United today. The Portuguese attacker was absent from the match as he and his partner lost one of their newborn twins, which is just super sad.
It was at birth or what? I don't understand.
I don't know if it was right at birth or, a little bit after, but I wasn't even aware that he was expecting kids at this point. But, that said, it's no one, should have to experience that. It's got to be soul crushing for him and those in their family. So it was a really cool tribute to see Anfield, a place that's been very hostile to him over the years. Really, sing his name at a time that probably means a lot to him. So, and not all that often you see supporters laying down, their rivalry in that type of manner. And it was a very nice gesture and nice to see that supporters can actually be that cool too.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a very, very touching moment. And, regardless of your rivalry opinion of the man or just opinion of him in general, there's just kind of certain things that you just don't wish upon anyone, and that certainly the loss of a newborn is one of them. Yeah, you never wish that on anyone at this point. So that brings us to the end of this week's show. As always, thanks for tuning in. You can find Jeremy and pester him on Twitter at Jeremy Lance. You can find me there as well at Wrong Side of Pond. Until we talk again, folks, it's been fun. Later.